I will go the opposite way then, Kate says. Then I'll be going with you, Melinda says, tells Kate. You will? Kate asks her confused. I did tell you yesterday that I would help you with the sharpening aura of your ice magic, didn't I? Melinda says. You're right, I forgot, Kate says. In that case, let's try the tunnel over there. Right behind you, I see, Melinda says, as the two of them are getting further away from us. And I'll just continue to sit here doing some training, Hadrick says. I think I'll go back to Father's workshop, Layla writes to me. I've always loved just standing next to him, watching him work. It's been too long since I've had the opportunity to do so. What about you, Barry? What are you planning to do for the next couple of hours? Well, I can't really do much without my stat device, so I'll probably just go exploring for a bit, I say. Okay, Layla writes. See you later, Barry. See you, I say, as Layla heads back towards his father's workshop. Later, Hadrick, I say, and then go to try out one of the corridors that I haven't been in before. For the next few hours or so, I pretty much just walk around the rebel base trying to figure out what each area was meant for. I quickly found out that most of the underground was split into several major sectors. First, there was a living quarter where people had their own private rooms in which they could sleep at night. Then there was a mess hall where the rebels and the king's men would go to eat their food. They also had an infirmary and apparently a recreation area as well. I tried to venture outside of these major sectors too, but unfortunately a lot of these areas seemed to be off limits for outsiders like myself. As I walked around the rebel place, I got to encounter several people that I had already met before, such as the little girl who had lost her parents and the two guys that dragged the sick old man to the quarantine zone. At a certain point, I also ran into Flower and Luna, who were busy doing their training. Before they spotted me, I noticed that they were having an argument again. Apparently, Flower is still trying to imitate Kate's voice and demeanor, thinking that this would somehow make her sound more mature, and Luna is getting increasingly more irritated by her behavior. Now they noticed me, they stopped their fighting in order to greet me, but I'm willing to bet that they got right back to it as soon as I was out of earshot. While exploring the base, I had to go back to the waiting room several times, and it was situated right in the center of all the major sectors. At one point when I was... So there's a main area which connects to other areas. I mean, wouldn't it be preferable to just connect the other areas with each other as well? Like form like a circle or something? But maybe, carving through Ceridium is not so easy. While exploring the base, I had to go back to the waiting room several times since I was situated right in the center of all the major sectors. At one point when I was in the waiting room, I ran into Darren and Araka, who were apparently on their way to get some healing devices from the infirmary. When we saw each other, we stopped briefly so we could have a short chat about what we've been doing in the past few hours. We've been progressing slowly, but at a steady pace, Darren tells me. I'm still struggling to figure out how to have one of my healing spell cure a person's aura directly. But I think I might have some hints if I take a look at how old Lasethi made healing devices are functioning. It's interesting. I just realized something. I mean, if the magical plane and this earthen plane were not connected and there was no magic, there would be like normal diseases. But because magic has become such a big thing in these worlds, the diseases have also interacted with them. So a microbe would not use its biological functions to, harm a, host, infect a host. It will use aura instead to infect a host. That's very interesting. Yeah, the microbes have also started using, instead of biological functions, started using auras to infect hosts. That's something. I'm still struggling to figure out how to have one of my healing spells cure a person's aura directly, but I think I might have some hints if I take a look at how the old Lasethi made healing devices are functioning. What about you? Did you find anything of interest while you were exploring? Not really, I say. I'm prohibited from visiting most of the important looking areas, so I only got to see the kind of stuff that you would normally accept from a place like this. Has Hadrick been like this ever since I entered the quarantine zone? Darren whispers to me as he nods his head towards the dwarf, who is currently still sitting on the same chair as before, with a gloomy look on his face, while staring at the distance again. Yeah, he couldn't move from that spot as far as I could tell, I say. I think his recent attitude must have something to do with that. What Gontok said to him earlier about that dwarf village from all those years ago seems to me like the giant really struck a nerve when he said those words to Hadrick. You think it might be somehow related to his trial from the god of time's ritual, Darren says. It's possible, I say. Either way, he's probably not going to tell us anything if we ask him directly. The best thing we can do is wait for him to want to talk about it on his own. Well, you're probably right, Darren says. Well, I guess I'm off then. Have fun exploring, I say. I'll try, I say. Good luck with curing the disease. Once we finish our conversation, we both go our separate ways, and I decide to head through one of the corridors that I haven't managed to fully explore yet. After walking around and trying out different doors for about 15 minutes, I stop for a brief moment in order to decide where I'm planning to go next. As I'm calmly looking around, I suddenly get a chill down my spine when I hear this man's voice coming from behind me, even though I could have sworn the corridor was completely empty only a few moments ago. I noticed that you've been quite a bit of busy. What? I noticed that you've been having quite a bit of fun exploring our rebel base, Barry, Albert says. See anything you like? The way he was able to sneak up behind me so easily reminded me almost immediately of Wilhelm from Thelia's Arena. So I turned to face Albert. My eyes instinctively went to the dagger that was hanging from his belt, and my suspicions were quickly confirmed when I saw the orange color of his hilt. A fine dagger, isn't it? Albert says when he sees me looking at his blade. You couldn't ask for a more perfect weapon as an assassin. Honestly, if a regular person were to use it, then it would barely qualify as more than a kitchen knife. But we assassins are trained from a young age to make full use of its capabilities. The way it helps us focus when we are concealing our aura is simply extraordinary. Still, I couldn't help but get the feeling that this isn't the first time where you have been in a situation like this. Have you met an assassin up close before, Barry? Yes, I said. I tried to calm down a little. There was an assassin in my division when I was fighting in the arena of Thelius. His name was Wilhelm. Wilhelm, Albert said with a thoughtful look in his eyes. Name does sound familiar. I'm quite sure that I've heard of an assassin who went by that name before. Although I can't recall if I've ever had the honors to meet him. But the two of you friends, not exactly. I say, tried to kill me. You were targeted by an assassin, and yet you somehow survived. Albert says, intrigued. How did you manage such a feat? It's because Wilhelm was a wimp, just like every other assassin. It's because I'm simply unbeatable. There are far bigger threats than an assassin on the battlefield, I assure you. Still, Albert says, dealing with an assassin requires an entirely different skill set than what you would normally need in order to defeat some gladiators or some beast. Even if he may not have been as strong as your other adversaries, serving an assassination attempt is definitely an impressive achievement in itself. You have my sincerest congratulations. You're not going to try to kill me too, are you? You're not going to try to kill me too, are you? I say. Albert laughs. Only if you force me, Barry, he says. However, at this point in time, we are allies, not enemies. So you don't need to worry about such thing anyway. I think I've held you long enough. Have fun with your exploring. I'm sure that we'll be seeing each other again soon. Albert then smiles politely and he walks past me without saying another word. As I turn around to look for him, I realize he's already gone. I'm going to need to look out for this one. My instincts tell me that he is quite a bit more dangerous than Wilhelm, so I shouldn't underestimate him. After spending 20 more minutes walking around the corridors, I suddenly run into Peter, who tells me that he has been looking for me and that the King of Underground has requested another meeting with me and my group. When I ask him what this is about, he says that he isn't allowed to talk about it, but I can easily tell that he's acting a lot more stressed out than the first time I spoke to him. I decided to call everyone on the transceiver. We eventually managed to assemble in the meeting room so we can once again go meet the king. It doesn't take us too long to reach the throne room, and once we're inside, we seat ourselves on the same chairs that were prepared for us the first time. Just like the last time, Albert is also present in the room, leaning against a wall with his arms crossed. But Peter seems to be a lot more fidgety and not so sure of himself anymore. It would appear that the only people from the last meeting who were missing this time around are Brainan and Layla's father. Okay, yeah, Layla's father is working. I don't know about Brainan though. Thank you for coming here on such short notice, the King of the Underground tells us. He sits on the throne in front of us. I know that you're all busy people, so I'm going to try and keep this brief. Tell me, in what way is your team associated with this creator who goes by the name of Aiden? What do you ask? Darren says. Oh, that's right, you were in the quarantine zone this whole time. So you don't know what happened, the king says. In short, I couldn't help but notice that this Aiden has been going out of his way to provide your group with information related to the King of Ollander and his cliché. Is it his clique? It's not cliche. The way it's used here, I believe it's clique. I think so. I don't know what clique means, but I've definitely heard that word before. Someone said that exact word in that specific pronunciation, but okay. I'm guessing his clique would be like, his cliche wouldn't make any sense, so it's gotta be clique. I'm guessing his like entourage or something. I noticed this for the first time earlier today when my men reported Aiden delayed the blessing ceremony for no particular reason, only to give the go-ahead shortly after your group arrived in the Perilian Plaza. Since this was one of the few places where the screening of the ceremony was scheduled to take place, it made me a little suspicious. Well, the confirmation came a few hours ago when I received word that your friend happened to be in our recording room exactly when Aiden was having a conversation with the overseer. And Aiden more or less admitted that he lured the metal board there on purpose because he knew that one of our listening devices was planted nearby. I'm going to ask you again, what exactly is your affiliation with Aiden? The whole situation seem familiar to anyone else, or is it just me? I don't see how this situation is familiar in any way.